Hi, y'all. Just want to say thank you guys for taking time to watch this video. So basically, with this video, the purpose of this video is to talk about the common legal mistakes that entrepreneurs make. I think this video is so important because we see entrepreneurs popping up left and right. People are betting on themselves, and we need to make sure that people are doing them the right way, the legal way, and that they're protecting themselves, that they're protecting their business, which is why I want to talk about the common legal mistakes that entrepreneurs make. My name is Brianna Robertson. I am the managing attorney with the law office of Brianna C. Robertson. So please feel free to go and follow me on my page at BC Robertson Law. And before we get started, I got to do the legal stuff, the legal disclaimer, and just making sure that you know that anything that is said on this video, on this live, is not meant to be legal advice. It's not to be taken as legal advice. No attorney-client relationship is being formed by doing this live. This is just for informational purposes only. If you have a particular question that you need for your own business or anything of the like, if you need legal advice, please feel free to go on bcrobertsonlaw.com and you can schedule a consultation where we could talk about your specific needs and see if I can help you. Also, I'm licensed in Louisiana and Georgia, so it's always a good idea to make sure you talk to an attorney in your state. Except for when it comes to trademarks, I can help in any state, but please make sure you talk to an attorney in your state for particularized legal advice for laws that pertain to your state. But anything said here today is not meant to be legal advice. So that is the legal stuff. So now for the reason why we're all listening to this video and why we're doing this today, the common legal mistakes that entrepreneurs make when starting a business. I'm going to go over three major areas the common legal mistakes. So let's start with the first one. The first one is that you don't form the proper legal entity. So when starting a business, some people might start and not start with the legal entity at all. Um, excuse me, it might not start with a legal entity at all and operate in what's called as a sole proprietorship. A sole proprietorship means that you have no legal entity. You didn't file your business with the Secretary of State. You just said, popped up one day, said like, I'm open for business. And this is a big mistake that a lot of people make. Why? Because it opens yourself up for a whole lot of liability. It opens your assets and everything that you work hard for to liability to be attacked if there's something that goes wrong and somebody sues you. So that is why that is the first big legal mistake. So please, when you're opening your business, please make sure that you open with the proper legal entity. Make sure that you have a legal entity. And that is because it really helps shield you and your personal assets from being attacked if somebody tries to go after your business. That way that they'll go after your business assets and not your personal assets. I always like to say, treat your business like it's its own person, because that's how the law sees it. The law will see your business as its own person. There's many different legal entities that you can choose from. You have general partnerships, you have limited partnerships, you have corporations, you have LLCs, which is the most common one that entrepreneurs use is the LLC. But please make sure you create a legal entity. And to determine which legal entity is best for you, it really determines what type of business you have, what you see your long-term goals as being, and really like the different tax benefits that you're trying to get. Everybody's needs are different, but for the most part, for small LLCs and small businesses, LLCs will do. And why LLCs are important and all these things are important is because, like I said, it gives you limited liability and it puts the liability on your business and not necessarily yourself. With that, a common mistake that I see people when they have an LLC is that they don't use their LLCs properly, meaning that they go and they create an LLC. Yes, that's really good. You did the first step. You created an LLC, but what you're doing is you have the LLC, but you're commingling your personal funds and your personal matters with your LLC. So by doing that, you really weaken the benefits of the LLC, because you now have what's called like commingling, or people can pierce the corporate veil, which is the legal term that we use, which simply means that we go through your business and we attack your personal assets, saying that your personal assets are your business assets, because you're mingling the two. So that's why if you go and get an LLC, the next step you need to do is you need to go open up your own, have your business open up its own bank account. And you can't have a bank account if you don't have a legal entity. So after you have the legal entity, you get your EIN number, which is your employee identification number. You're going to need that. It's for tax purposes, because it's like your business's social security number. So you need to report taxes. You use your EIN number. If you plan on hiring employees, you need your EIN number. And if you open a bank account, you need your EIN number. And you can't open a business bank account without having a legal entity. And then when you have open your bank accounts, please, please do not mix your personal funds with your business funds. Because that's, like I said, commingling, and people can pierce the corporate veil. So that means if you're going to Walmart and you're doing a grocery run, don't go and just swipe your business credit card to pay for groceries, unless you're using these groceries for your business and you can use it as a tax write-off. If you're just using it for your personal stuff, then you're going to be commingling your personal funds. Don't do that. And then I suggest hiring an accountant or somebody who can help really guide you on how to use your funds in your business bank account. Also, you can use your legal entity when entering into contracts. This is another reason why it's important to have a legal entity form, because you can use contracts and contract with different people in the form of your LLC. You can establish business credit when you have your own business entity, or you have the LLC. You can have business credit. You can go and lease property or purchase property, lease vehicles, all these things in a business name. But in order to do so, you need to have a business entity created. So that is mistake number one, is that you don't have the proper legal entity. The second mistake that a lot of people make is contracts. You don't have the proper contracts in place. Whenever you have a business, you need to make sure that you have the proper contracts in place. The reason for this is really, the purpose of the contract is to protect you, to protect your business, and to keep you out of court, to keep you out of litigation. And what a contract does is it pretty much just outlines everything that you and the other person that you're working with. It makes you have an agreement. Do not do the he said, she said, or the word of mouth. Like, well, she said this, so I'm going to just go for it. No, get this stuff in writing, have a contract in place, protect yourself. You might be thinking like, oh, that's doing too much. It's not necessary. I trust that person. Trust me. Take that extra step, protect yourself, protect your business, and get the contracts in place. Some of the essential contracts that you would need in your business. If you're going into business with a partner, make sure you have a partnership agreement. Make sure you have the partnership agreement and bylaws and articles of incorporation that really highlights how your business is going to run. How you guys are going to divide your profits and expenses? How you guys are going to pay each other? How you guys are going to separate the expenses? If somebody leaves, how are you guys going to divide up the property or the business? Please make sure that you have those partnership agreements in place. Another common contract that you guys need to have is, if you're contracting work out with other people, let's say you're working with different groups of people, have your independent contractor agreements in place. The reason why this is important is because if you're contracting out with other people, let's say somebody hires you to do something and you contract it out, like for certain projects to be done. They don't do something right and they go and they try to sue you, saying that, oh, your employee, I got injured because of something your employee does. Well, you'll say like, well, they're not an employee, they're just a contractor. But if they appear as your employee, you don't have these contract agreements in place, they can still try to attack you for what somebody else did. So it's important that you have like these independent contractor agreements in place, so that way that it's clear that they're not an employee, they're simply a contractor. So if they do something and somebody's injured, they're going after them and not your business. And the same thing, if you are hiring employees, have employee agreements in place that highlights what is their job duties, what is their salary, how are they going to get paid, are they at will, are they not at will. That is very important, because if you're at will, that means that you guys can live, they could quit for any reason, you could fire them for any reason. Or if it's a contract or a contractor position, make sure you have, how long is this contract going to stay in place. You need to make sure you have all of these things laid out in writing. So have those employee agreements in place. If you are having a speaker, if you're a speaker and you do a lot of public speaking, make sure you have these speaker agreements in place to protect you, and make sure that you guys have in place, like, how much are you going to get paid for speaking? How are they going to pay you? Are they going to pay for lodging and to fly you out there? Make sure that you have these things in place to protect your business. The same thing for like work for hire agreements. If you are hiring photographers, graphic designers, all of these people need to have work for hire agreements to make sure they realize any content that they produce for you belongs to them, belongs to you and not them. So have these agreements in place. Another thing that you'd have in place, confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements. It's the nature of the beast that whenever you hire somebody, that they will have access to confidential information. You want to make sure that you have these agreements in place that they know that they can't just go and take this confidential information and take it out somewhere else. Same thing, like if they're creating things on behalf of the business, they need to realize that the business owns that. They don't own that. That business owns it. So if they leave, they can't then go and take all that stuff with them and let somebody else make money off of it. That stays with you and your business. Non-disclosure agreements, make sure they know they can't disclose certain information. When you look at people like Beyonce doing stuff like Black is King, how do you think she's able to do a big project like that and nobody knows about it? You have these non-disclosure agreements where you can't go and tell people about it. All of these things are important to protect your business. So please make sure you have the proper contracts in place to help protect your business. Another thing that you need to have in place, if you work with a lot of clients, make sure you have client agreements in place that highlights what your services are, what they've retained you for, what is your fees, how you're to get paid. Make sure you have something that outlines your whole entire agreement. Me as an attorney, every client that I take on, I make sure that I have a client agreement in place. I make sure that it has everything laid out on what you've retained me for, what my expectations of you are, what your expectations of me are, and we both sign it and we have those contracts in place to protect both of us. So if you're somebody who has a whole lot of clients, make sure you have these client agreements in place. And then when you're doing these contracts, make sure that you're contracting in your business's name and not your name. Because like I said before, you don't want to commingle your personal with your business. So if you're doing a contract, it is not you that's entering the contract, it's your business that's entering the contract, and you sign on behalf of your business. So please make sure you do that. I can't tell you how many times I've seen contracts where they are contracting as themselves instead of their business. And so if something happens, people can now attack their assets, their personal assets, because you did it in contract in your name and not your business's name. Your LLC is there for a reason. Use it to protect yourself. And so make sure when you're doing these contracts, you're doing these contracts and entering it under the business's name and not your own personal name. So please, please, please make sure you have the proper contracts in place to protect your business. And then always have an attorney review the contracts or help draft these contracts. Why? Because an attorney can make sure that these contracts are tailor-made to your business. You want to have an attorney who knows your business, and so that way when they create these things, they know what you need to have in these contracts to protect yourself and your business. So I always suggest that you have an attorney go and review contracts to help draft the contracts to make sure that they protect everything that your business needs. LegalZoom cannot tailor make your contract for you. They're not attorneys. They can't give you legal advice. They can't tell you the consequences of everything. Please hire an attorney. An attorney should be one of your essential advisors that you have on your team for your business. And if you're contracting with other people, have an attorney review those contracts before you sign anything to make sure that you are protecting yourself and your business. So contracts. These things are there to help keep you out of court. And just make sure that you have a meeting of the minds. And if things change after you've entered a contract and you have an additional agreement, make sure you go and amend those contracts and get them in writing. Because if you take things to court and you're saying that you have this agreement, they're going to look at the four corners of that document. If it's not in there, they're probably not going to consider it. So any agreement that you come up with, please make sure you have those in your contract. So that is number 2, making sure you have the proper contracts in place to protect your business. The third thing that you want to make sure that you have is that you protect your brand. Please protect your brand. This is so important. Trademarks, copyrights, trademark your brand. Trademark your company name, trademark your logo, things that can be trademarked like slogans, logos, words. Make sure that you have those things so you own your brand. If you don't trademark it, if you don't sit here and own it, you're renting it. I guarantee you, if you look at a lot of these celebrities and everything, and they're creating their businesses, the first thing that they're doing is they're trademarking it. They're filing their trademarks before you even know about their brand. And they're doing that because they want to make sure that nobody else can sit here and profit off of their ideas or steal their ideas. If you're going out here doing business and you're not protecting your brand first, somebody else sees it and they want to copy you and you now want to stop them. It's really hard to sit here and have legal recourse to stop them from taking your brand because you didn't take the time to own it. You're renting it. And so then you can't get mad when somebody else decides to own their stuff. Also, if you want somebody to take you and make sure that you're legit, own it. It shows that you are legit. You mean about your business when you say, I took time to own my stuff. So, make sure you're legit so people trademark it. Get the R. That's what we want. We want the R. So please make sure that you are trademarking your business to protect the business name. And a lot of people think that you have to be in business before you can trademark it. That is false. You don't have to already have your business started before you trademark the business. You can file for the trademark before you start the business. It is really smart to do so just to make sure your business name is protected and nobody else can take it. Another common mistake people make when it comes to branding is they start their brand and they don't check to make sure that that brand doesn't have any type of intellectual property problems with it. Meaning, has somebody else already trademarked that business name, or does somebody have a name or brand that's already similar to that? And if so, you will have a problem when it comes to intellectual property rights, because you'll sit here and put out your whole business, they catch wind of it, and now you done did all this work to sit here and put your business out there and to brand all of this stuff to make a name for yourself. You know, have this 6-figure, 7-figure business, they see it, they send you the cease and desist letter, and now all your stuff has to be shut down. Yeah, that's not cool. Whereas if you had just took the time in the beginning when you started your business to make sure that your brand name was available, to make sure that there wasn't any type of intellectual property problems with it, that you could have started that from the beginning to see if you need to change your brand name or not. Do that stuff in the beginning. The same thing, let's say you have a company and your company puts on a regular seminar or a regular conference that has the same a name that you have for a conference. These things can be trademarked. And I would suggest that you do so somebody else isn't going and taking your same idea and redoing it and profiting off of your things. So that's why a trademark is so, so important. And a trademark is an asset to your business, is an asset to your business portfolio. Trademarks are something that you can pass down to your children. Trademarks are something that you can sell to other people. You can sit here and let other people use your trademark, and they have to pay you for using your trademark, your business name. That is why it is such an important asset. When you look at places like Shark Tank and all of that, some of the most common questions they'll ask is this thing trademarked? Because it lets them know whether you are serious about this brand and whether you own it. Um, so yes, please protect your brand. Get those trademarks out there and get your stuff protected. Um, and the same thing goes with like your logos and things, with copyrights. Do you have a graphic designer that created your logo for your business? A lot of people don't understand that if you have somebody else create your logo, you technically don't own the copyrights. You don't own it. The person who created it owns the copyrights to the logo. And so if you have somebody that's creating your logo, that's why you want your work for hire agreements, especially if you photographers, when they're taking photos and stuff, they own those things. So that's why it's important to have your work for hire agreements or your copyright assignment agreements, meaning that after they create that, they sign those copyrights over to you, and so that you own all of that stuff. If you have books, blogs, anything that you are creating, make sure you're getting all these things copyrighted so that you own it and people can't just duplicate your stuff without permission or paying you your coins. So if they're going to sit here and reproduce your stuff, they need to pay you for it. They need to ask your permission for it. Why do you think we see this with songs and you can't use people's music? It's because they have the copyrights attached to it. So please make sure that you're protecting your brand. Make sure that you're owning your brand. If you don't have it trademarked, you don't own your brand. You're renting it. And serious business owners, people who are serious about their business and serious about their brand, they're going to make sure that they get that stuff trademarked, because they don't want somebody else profiting off of their hard work that they've done to make a name for themselves. So please, please, please protect your brand. And get the trademarks, get the copyrights, make the investment. Make sure that because if you're not going to invest in yourself, how are you going to expect other people to invest in you? So please, please make sure that you have that in place. So those are the 3 common legal mistakes that entrepreneurs make. Now, if you want to have a full legal checklist, I have a checklist on my website. If you want to go down the list, if you're starting a new business, I have a legal checklist to make sure that you have everything in order. You can go to bcrobertsonlaw.com. That's bcrobertsonlaw.com. You can go on there and subscribe to get the free legal checklist. Also, I suggest that you subscribe to the website, because we get a monthly newsletter that tells you different business insights, different ways to protect your business, different ways to keep your business legally sound. We have a monthly newsletter that goes out, and it gives you some really good stuff. And I just pray that y'all take all of this stuff seriously as you're betting on yourself. Make sure that you keep your stuff legally sound. Because trust me, these big corporations, they have lawyers in their corner, lots of lawyers, a team of them, to make sure that their stuff is in order and legally sound. And I believe that the small businesses should have a lawyer too. And that is why I'm here. And that is why I want to do what I do. I want to see us all win. I want to make sure all these small businesses win. I want to make sure that you win. So if you have a legal question, please contact me. You can go on my website, bcrobertsonlaw.com, and make a consultation, and we can come up with a legal strategy for how to protect your business. I can help you with your trademarks, help you create the business entity, and just to really make sure that your business is legally sound and that you start off with the right foundation. Because if you start off with the right foundation, you can only go up from there, and you have nothing to worry about. So I thank y'all for listening to me. Once again, if you have any legal questions, or if you just want to have a consultation, just go to bcrobertsonlaw.com, and we are happy to help you. Thanks, y'all.